Thanks, Delia, for letting me come join you folks today and talk a little bit about what we've got going on here. I'm, as Delia alluded to, the general manager of Lenovo Software, and I've had the pleasure of working and kind of delivering ed tech solutions for about the last 7 years. And during that tenure, I could have never predicted we'd be talking today about the evolution that we're seeing in the industry just around this unprecedented times. The education landscape, it changed forever, and it's demanding more from its educators than ever before. We all know that, and we're hearing from our customers and our friends, about the toll that these new expectations are kind of taking on folks, and we want to be here with LanSchool and provide a way to help. And so that's what we're here to talk about with you today. A very interesting picture that I like to share around, over the last 200 years, the classroom for K-12 was a physical space, right? This was a place we went. Not too long ago with the pandemic, right? That changed everything, right? Educators are now, they're in a must. There's a must around this. They must be able to conduct class, whether that's in the classroom, whether that's online, or as Delia just alluded to, whether it's both. And this blended education approach is really going to require that we have fully integrated and flexible tools to work across that spectrum. So the classroom must it must be a seamless experience when you need to go virtual, when that is needed. And at the same time, the virtual classroom, that needs to feel and behave just like you were in that live classroom, having that experience. So very interesting dynamic that we're all working with. And as schools come to a close for the year, and as these administrators and educators, as we're all prepping for this new normal next year, we're all kind of bombarded with choices around health, safety, and distance learning. And in fact, very interesting statistic here: if you were to go and Google, the word distance learning, just go search it, you're going to get about 577 million results. So as an educator, where do you start? Where do we go with on all this? And that's really, it's inundated with the amount of offerings and solutions that are coming back. So, if we get back to the basics, education, it's about learning experiences, and those experiences must be delivered, with the student's individual needs in mind. And over the years, the debate over equality and equity, it's played itself out in the realm of funding, whether that's resources or learning outcomes or academic support. And now we have this new challenge around distance learning, right? And in fact, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they define 2 dimensions of equity in education. One, fairness, which means ensuring that personal and social circumstances don't prevent students from achieving their academic potential, and inclusion. And this means, setting a basic minimum standard for education that is shared by all students, regardless of their background. And we want to make sure, according to this, how do we achieve equity, is closely ties to personal learning. So it requires that we have to understand or be able to understand each student's individual needs and as we're designing the experiences that they will help them achieve success. So how do we do this, right? How do we accomplish this in the global pandemic? While teachers are being accountable for not only the health checks and social distancing, we now have this remote aspect in the equation. How do we create this personalized learning environment? That's really what we're all faced with. And so at Lenovo, we've spent a lot of time with our worldwide education team, Delia and others, and our product and solution teams, thinking about how do we come and bring a solution with this education around education continuity, right? And that's really the term that I like to use here, is how are we in the process of delivering a continuous learning environment for our students that supports, we need to support that personalized experience, but it's also important that we support the educational equality, right? So how do we support educators in delivering one-to-one learning while keeping students safe in this new world that we're all part of? We saw this play out in really 2 aspects. What we know is, the approach does matter. And in March, when the shutdown began to happen, schools began to, I'll use the word scramble, to define a new normal, right? Many schools went on the route of providing materials and letting students self-learn the content, and we'll call this asynchronous learning, right? Some of the pros and cons of this model are, when I'm in a synchronous model, students can log in whenever it's convenient to do their work, when they have Wi-Fi, or if they have devices available, when they can get to the public, device or Wi-Fi to work. The con of that is that there was no real-time learning. It required a lot of prep from teachers. Oftentimes I heard disengaged students, reliant on worksheets, and lack of community. How do I feel grouping together? Lacking the ability to work more closely with teachers, and just it really lacked personalization. So we struggled there. If we contrast that to the other model, which is synchronous learning, right? The pros of that model is synchronous learning provides that sense of normalcy, right? I'm in community. It's a routine for the students. It's real-time learning, the ability to ask clarifying questions that come up, right? Less prep for the teachers, the ability to have that personalized learning. And so that was great, but the cons were, how do we guarantee that there's equity and equality, so that students would need to be online at a specific point in time to make that day, right, or to make that appointment. So, the verdict was in, and what we heard is that it's very challenging to find success with asynchronous learning. There was really a lack of equality across the student populations that kind of prevented that from being a full-blown success. And so now we need to move to this new school year, right? And we need to look ahead and learn and say, many schools, as we move to this new world, how do we accomplish synchronous teaching models and drive success? And that's why we're here at Lenovo to help, with the partners and all of us here to help define what that new success might look like. And so we want to talk about this in a couple ways. Number one, we have this comprehensive suite of products and partnerships that you're going to hear from today that really make up remote class management. And this portfolio, it's all about being designed to support learning. So let's just start with LanSchool right there at the top, right? This is our classroom management solution. Educators have turned to this solution for classroom management, and we like to optimize it in a way where they can teach, they can provide opportunities to address the pedagogical challenges of teaching in a connected classroom. And whether they're in person, in the brick and mortar of a school, or remote, they have this consistency across teaching for all the students. So as I alluded to earlier, they want that feeling of, when I need to go virtual, it should feel and experience similar to what it was like when I was there. I want to be able to see, I want to be able to help them and understand what's on their screen, make those changes. Number two, we have two solutions that address safety, for students at schools. The thought of a great partnership with BARC, where we offer some exclusive student safety for free, because we believe that student safety should just be a given. And then in addition to that, we've got great partnerships with DNS Filter, where we're extending our safety from the school and the classroom all the way out to protecting them over the web in their homes. And then the last part of this critical, coming together is, we know that we're a critical part of the Lenovo EDU system and the hardware offering bundle that we bring to market with that. So the number one education technology in the provider in the world, Lenovo, we are now going to be providing as part of this a bundle offering. So you get to maximize your budgets by this offering. And what that means is, for every device that is a Lenovo device sold into education, we provide a complimentary license as part of that situation for LanSchool, and BARC is also a part of that equation with those EDU devices. And that's not just if you bought them today or tomorrow, right? We'll actually take care of some that you've bought in the last year to make sure that we're addressing those needs. So very excited to kind of come together with this completely comprehensive solution all in one. So we did have some practice in creating, education continuity in the remote learning game. And since the outbreak of COVID, we were very excited to enable over 100 organizations with over $1 million in licenses to help with this education continuity and to give them the ability to do that personalized learning. And here just a few customers had to say as they used it, right? One of them, remote, right? They were able to redirect an off-task student. They were able to proctor exams. they had the confidence because they could actually physically see what was going on with that remote student, from a distance. And so a lot of those features, like being able to see that and being able to keep pace with all of the students, gave them, those great abilities. Not to mention private chat, right? A student could reach out in the middle of that online learning and ask a question and have those needs met right there where they were. So very excited to see it, put through its paces, and we're even more excited to see how we can help, as we look ahead into next year, what we can do there. So if we look at this, we also wanted to come prepared today. We wanted to give you some great resources. And so we assembled some resources around distance learning to get you started. From how to maintain relationships with parents and students, right? A great white paper there, blog, how to support learning from home. We have experts that can even help you get ready for all these kinds of possibilities when it's time to go back to school, right? This new norm. And as we look at that, right, we have that, and the benefits that LanSchool extend, we're going to give them, a sense of peace of mind, right, in this new normal. And we want to put the learning minutes back into every school day by allowing these teachers to have that time that they need to get more meaningful connections with these students, even in a remote setting, right? We're very focused on making sure that, again, we want it to feel very similar experience as they did before. And then finally, regardless of where they're at, our mission is to redefine classroom learning, and it's what's driven us to create LanSchool, the first ed tech software of its kind. And over 30 years, we're seen in 75 different countries, and multiple awards later, the mission still drives us as we continue to evolve and to serve educators and students both in the classroom and remotely. So we are ultimately very excited, and we want to be a champion as you move forward and look towards remote learning solutions. And we are here to help, and we're absolutely excited for that. So please, if you have additional questions, and I know we'll have a Q&A session here as well, but take us up on the opportunity to check out the LanSchool, see what remote classroom management can provide you with it. And with that, Delia, I think I'm going to hand it back to you as we look to talk about the next offering as part of this equation.
Great. Thank you so much, Kobe. I think I really appreciate how you hit on so thoroughly on education continuity. That is such a critical concept right now.